So I'm one of those smooth brain people that fell for the propaganda that obsidian is like a second brain for you. And I've been using it for years, but notoriously I'm also an iPhone user, which I've used the reminders app there to do all of my kind of task list things, which I find incredibly useful, but I could never get that to actually sync to my computer, which really annoyed me. But recently Obsidian has come out with a new plugin that lets you do things like to-do lists really easily. And so today I figured I'd do like a tutorial on how I've set mine up. As an example, here's how my to-do list looks inside of here. We've got a couple of tasks that repeat every so often. We've got tasks that are due on a certain day. You can see mine's a little out of date, but say I update this task to today that repeats every day, it's going to disappear off of that list and it'll be back tomorrow. So let's dive into how I can do this. So I'm going to just start up a new vault real quick. Create temp. Let's put this like maybe desktop. Just like that. Alright, and so now we have a new Obsidian vault opened up. So I'm going to hit Control P to open the command palette and type in vault. Oh no, not vault. I mean base. And we're going to create a new base. I'm going to name this to be to-do. Let's zoom this in a good bit. Just like that. So now we have a to-do base. You can see all of our files are showing up inside of here, and this is how bases work by default. They basically list out all of the files, but obviously that isn't all that useful on its own. So the first thing we can do is we can go into the filter for this, and we're going to need, actually before that, a new folder. I'm going to call this tasks. Then we go filter, where folder is tasks, just like that. And so now we've got nothing under here, and if I hit new and try and make a test file under here, we're going to see it shows up inside of tasks. So now we've got our tasks separated from everything else inside of our Obsidian vault. So the next thing that we need to do is start setting up some properties. So you could just type in here to kind of create them, and I'm going to start with one called due. So this is just a date that something is due. We could just call it add due property, change this to be a date. We can do a similar thing for completed, so we'll call it completed, add a completed property, also make that a date. And finally we need one more, and we'll call it repeat, just like that, and add repeat property. So this is basically all we need for like a super simple to-do list. So along with, you know, some other properties going on here. So now we need to add a formula, and I'm going to call this one complete, as in a query for is this complete. So it's going to be true or false, and basically what we can have under here, first off, if completed is empty, that means that we haven't completed this task and we should return false. So let's do not completed dot is empty, just like that. We can see right now this unchecked box means that it's false, but obviously we want to put some stuff on top of that. So now that we have checked that, if it is if completed is not empty and one of the following conditions that I'm going to put inside of parentheses are met, then we will return true. So the first condition is if we have due and completed filled out. So I don't care if I've finished a task after it was due, I just want it to disappear from the list. So what I'm going to do is, we've already checked that completed has something inside of it, so what we need to do is check not due.is empty to say is due not empty, and I want to check if repeat is empty. Repeat.is empty. So that way we can say, like, hey, we're doing a due date specific one, not a repeat specific one, so we should just submit. But we can also have another condition that can be met here, which is for if our task is repeating. And that is going to look like this. So we can get the duration since we have last completed a task by taking the time that we are currently at minus that completed time, and then we can compare that to the duration of that repeat time to get our result. So, for example, what we can do here is now minus completed is less than, and then duration. This is a function that will parse a string into a duration of time. And we just put repeat inside of there, just like that. All right. So this is the basic formula. Let's test it out. So first off, let's set a due date for maybe like tomorrow, right? And let's set completed to be today. All of a sudden, it shows up as complete. That looks good. But let's say instead we didn't actually have a due date. Now, because we haven't set due and repeat, it's going to be a little confused and be like, hey, what did you want from this? Why is it complete without any kind of requirements? But now we can try repeat. So let's put in 1D for 1 day. So if we've completed it today, it's going to show up as good, you've completed it. But if I put in yesterday, you can see that it shows up as not complete, which means that we could complete it today, update that completed date, and it's going to show up as complete. So that all looks good. But let's say we want to now dive into some views. For example, you saw in my to-do list I had a this week view, so let's make that. This week is what we'll call it. We'll leave it at table and row height as short. So we're going to add a new formula under here, and we're going to call it due date. That is going to calculate the date based off of our due field and based off of our repeat field, and some other stuff. So we can use if conditionals inside of here to actually make that work. So if not due is empty, then our true condition is going to return just due, because that's what we want if due isn't empty. But if it is empty, then what we can do is we can either return the last date that we completed it plus our repeat time, or if we haven't even set completed, we could actually return the time that the file was created plus the repeat time. So here we go. If, again, we're going to nest if statements here. Oh my lord, I hate that it does that. Then we're going to go completed, not completed, dot is empty. So if completed isn't empty, then we are going to return completed plus duration of repeat. And if completed does not exist, we just go file.ctime plus duration of repeat. Boom. And so, for example, here, let's create some new files. So the first one is going to be do test. It's like this. Oh, and I don't know why I don't see any of the properties. Do, repeat, completed, complete. Just gonna make those show up real quick. So let's say that this task is due on the 24th. We see that due date shows up as 24th. That's perfect. So let's do a new one and call it repeat test. Now under here, due will be not set. Repeat will be every 2 weeks. And we see that we get a due date of 2 weeks from now. And say this was completed maybe on, the 18th, this should go from the 31st to the 1st, and we see that it updates accordingly. So all of that is working great, and that allows us to start messing around with this filter. So for this view specifically, what we can do is we can say due date is before, then I'm going to change this to be code and go now plus duration of 1 week. Just like that. Right, quotes. There we go. So now we get only the items that are due this week specifically. You can see it can also be very easy to add a filter to make sure that complete is not true, so we only get tasks that we haven't completed. Let's see, some other interesting things you could do is you could add a new property and call it tags or something. We already have a tags thing, but how about subjects? So I'm just going to call it subjects, make that a list, and then for example, since we have do test here, we could go and give it a tag of test, a tag of new, and a tag of IDK, honestly. And you could see it would be very easy to sort by subject as well if you wanted to. Then let's see, what other kind of things can we do here? One last thing to show you. We can add a new formula and call that relative due, and if we type due date dot relative, you can see it's all of a sudden formatted very nicely, so we can say this thing is due in 7 days. So that shows up very nicely. So that's kind of how I use to-do lists. Each of these file names right here, if you click on it, it's going to open an actual file, which means that you could start linking to things, like the welcome page. And if I go back real quick, we could even see that we could add a property for not backlinks, but file links right there, and all of a sudden, yeah, we see we've got welcome inside of there, so you could see all of the links that you are kind of taking notes about on a specific task as you go about doing it, etc. Finally, one last thing, if I create a new thing, I'm just going to call it to do. How we actually insert and view this inside of a file is we could go exclamation mark and then link to todo.base. And then if you want to see a specific view, you type hashtag, you could do this week. And there we go. We get our single task showing up inside of there for this week. That's it. I hope this was helpful, and that you kind of learned a little bit of how you can extend Obsidian using these bases, because they can be really, really powerful in that they're just a database. So good luck, and let me know if you have questions.